G'day folks, this is the sword I'm working on. It's not yet assembled. The tang is bare, working on the handle right now, but I just wanted to discuss an interesting thing that's come about based on this sword, the reception that I've received to showing this sword in progress, which specifically has to do with the tip, or the lack rather, of having a point on it. And it's been interesting to see some of the like I say, the reception, the reactivity of even seasoned sword collectors who have hundreds of swords and, you know, so familiar with swords, but they've been kind of shocked to see something a bit different. And this is modelled after an early Iron Age Celtic LaTene period sword, the Lindemgard Mose sword, found in Zealand in Scandinavia, and it's got no tip because it's for use on horseback. It's a cavalry-only sword, which made it perfect and applicable to my rohirrim sword design, which is obviously the horse lords of the Riddermark in The Lord of the Rings. So you can imagine slashing and hacking from horseback. If a tip got stuck into the person you've attacked, you'd lose your sword, it would go with them. So they made these swords purely for use in cavalry. It didn't stick around for very long. It probably looks a bit more like a Bronze Era sword, you know. It's from like 2,500 years ago, and it's not a super long sword. It's 26-inch blade. It's 26 inches. Single-handed sword, and of course back in the early Iron Age they didn't have 34-inch long blades and things like that. This was before those days. So yeah, it's certainly interesting. Like I say, even people who love the hilt and, you know, want this sword and have spoken to me about this sort of thing before, when they see the tip and it's like, oh, I've got 100 other swords that all have a point on them in the oak shot style. Oh, but I don't want one without it. But you've got 100 other swords that all have an oak shot style tip. Of one type or another, you know, whether it's more cut and thrust or more thrusting, or even the spatula tips that the Viking era swords have, which I love. Spatula tips, they're really cool and they thrust great into lightly armoured opponents. But yeah, something like this, which is not meant for thrusting, and I don't know if you can see the thickness of it. It's like a hollow ground sort of cross section. Yeah, it's a tipless sword. What's the point? Pointless. Yeah, pretty cool. Hey, I was inspired by it when I saw it. I was like, oh, I want to make something like that, something different. It's actually what drew me to the original sword. But yeah, it's been funny seeing people try and get their head around something a little different. Cool, hey? Cheers.